Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. And I just want to say thank you so much for all my new subscribers. I'm just so appreciative of all your loving comments and your support. It's been phenomenal. I'm going to get stuck right in now onto part 3 of my What If Awakening to Remember series. And this one, as I shared in my first video, this all came about after my sister passed away. The experiences that I had on the other side with her. So today's message is, what if my body that I was gifted with since birth was actually an advanced biological human suit? Prior to my sister Melody's passing, I had the great privilege of sharing some of this information with her. She was always open to listen to what I had to say, even though deep down, a lot of what I had to say made no sense to her at all. Somehow, at the core of her being, she knew that my expressing myself was necessary for the evolution of my soul. Along with my husband and my friend Stacey, they had really been only the 3 people in my life that I could truly open up to about my spiritual experiences and to give me real feedback in return. Since Melody's exit, I began making recordings of these experiences and lessons I had learned about our human existence and the planet we live on. What happens is I will be watching something or be in conversation with someone, and all of a sudden I will receive information beyond anything I could or would have learned through my logical mind. The information would come telepathically and would come in so fast that I would struggle to keep up. Over time, I came to understand that our mind is somewhat similar to the brain or hard drive of a computer, and the messages I was receiving were like downloads. You know, just like when we download a program, a movie, a song, or a PDF file on a computer. I would receive information that if you were to put in a book format, it might fill 1,000 pages. From this information, I was able to translate in my own words what the message in short was attempting to convey. I like to refer to these messages as downloads from the universe, but they are in actual fact like transmissions received from my soul, who is connected to the God consciousness, or the consciousness of the all that is. I simply act as a conduit to receive this information so I can learn about who we are and why we are here. And of course, I now realize that this whole idea is that I should share this information with you. This is something we can all do, and over the past few years I'm finding and following more and more like-minded souls that are doing the same and sharing this valuable information to the world. After my experience channeling my sister, these downloads I was getting increased and were becoming a daily event, and at the time it was just information overload. My husband suggested I try recording these messages, and so I began creating audio recordings on my phone. I have over 200 recordings since the October 2018. And have come to realize that I must share these insights with those who are open and ready to receive. So let me share some insight with you that was given to me in support of today's thought-provoking message, which is, what if my body that I was gifted with since birth was actually an advanced biological human suit? The first message that came through was that by looking at our body from the point of view of comparing it to a spacesuit, we might consider that the maintenance and care of our body, like a spacesuit, is of utmost importance to ensure the longevity of its survival in its environment. When I received this download, I personally was going through some worries and concerns myself about finances, and my divine counterpart, my soul, wished to bring this to my attention, that the fear attached to my thoughts was actually doing me more harm than good. And I was reminded to go and do the work I needed to do in order to release this emotion before it got a hold of me. For those who don't know, I practice emotional freedom technique, neuro-linguistic programming and meditation as a means of releasing my emotional baggage. So my soul was reminding me to practice what I preach and go and do the inner work. As I began tapping on my fears, I then received this analogy of our body being like a spacesuit, and that when our emotions are fear-based, it clogs up the circuitry system, referring to the wires and connections in the spacesuit that enable it to remain fully operational in order to keep the person in it alive. In much the same way, our fear-based emotions clog up our body's nervous system. When we are in fear mode, which is stimulated by what our mind perceives as a threat outside of our body, like the fear of survival that many of us are experiencing with the latest coronavirus outbreak, our nervous system is triggered with what many may be familiar with as the fight or flight response. This is an inbuilt mechanism in our brain that produces a chemical reaction to alert our body of imminent danger. Your brain then releases chemicals into the bloodstream that increase your heart rate, which in turn begins to pump blood through your veins at a faster rate than normal. This process prepares the mind and body to take decisive action against a perceived threat. What my soul then expressed to me was that my worries and concerns were not truly life-threatening, but more a mental threat that I was recreating over and over in my head. My fear was producing chemicals that would then stimulate this fight or flight response and repeatedly trigger memories of past events in my life where I experienced financial hardship, and those thoughts would then produce more fear. This scenario is common, and like a computer having a glitch, when we experience fear, our subconscious mind kicks in and finds memories of past events in order to stimulate this fear response to help keep us safe. Unfortunately, when it starts, we tend to get lost in our thoughts and begin replaying those unwanted events as though they are happening now, and they feel so real that it is hard to pull yourself out of it. This too is a good example of the effect this coronavirus is having on the larger community. Fear of not having enough food, enough money, losing jobs, homes and businesses. It triggers past memories of similar events in our lives and creates thoughts of panic within us. This is why people are doing crazy things right now. It's the replaying in the mind of all the worst case scenarios that could possibly happen. The fear is one of not surviving, and the feelings we feel from thoughts like this are as real as the feelings we would have if we thought we were going to die. When these chemicals are released into our body as a result of a perceived threat and not a life and death situation, our body is put under an excessive amount of stress and pressure, especially on all of our internal organs. This is because these chemicals are designed to be delivered to give you excessive amounts of energy to enable you to run from danger. When you don't expend this energy, it builds up in the body as toxins. If you continue to stay in fear mode, your brain will continue to release these chemicals into the body, and as the unused chemicals flow throughout your internal system, they become toxins that build up and are what cause disease. This might show up as a headache, a tight neck, or a stiff joint or a tender muscle, and over time your entire body will begin to ache. I know there's a lot of people have been feeling this over the last, since February, March, since this corona outbreak. The fear has just been so intense for people, and they are literally filling their body full of toxins from the overproduction of chemicals when our fight and flight response kicks in. If we do not address these worries, fears and concerns and release them to take pressure off the body, the dis-ease in your body will eventually manifest into a disease. Our body or biological human suit if you will, is an advanced technological marvel, and it is designed to repair itself. It's designed with its own warning and reboot system in place, and all we need to know is to understand and understand its workings. I was shown that when we begin to understand how our mind and body operates at this level, we can better understand why we must learn how to look after it, just like you would a spacesuit. It is essential that we take care of the body and treat it like the temple that it is, as it holds within it some precious cargo, a piece of God, a divine fragment of source, of creation no less. And just like a spacesuit, it requires maintenance, and this is a message for us today. It is not only important to fuel the body with plenty of water and nutritious food, but more importantly, to maintain a calm mind through the many practices that are available to you, which I will be sharing with you on future transmissions. So for now, let's remember that our body is like a temple, and to maintain our advanced biological suit, we must include in our everyday fitness routine exercise and nutrition for the mind, body and soul, with love, light and abundance for all. So I hope you enjoyed this part 3 of my Awakening to Remember series. I know there's a lot of us out there, we already know this information. I've known this for years about and understood about the fight and flight response. I've studied it, and with all the courses and certifications that I've gained over the years, I've known this for a long time, but there are a lot of people who don't, and to actually get that information channeled through as well. But I really like the analogy of the spacesuit, because you think of when you go out to space, they can't survive without that spacesuit, and we really need to think in terms of we can't survive unless we look after this earth suit, our body, and treat it like the temple that it is. And I really love the analogy, and I hope you guys do too. And I'm going to be continuing on more on the next entry of my series, with talking about the body and what we can do, and the food that we can eat, and the many techniques that we can take on a daily basis to relax the mind. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you shortly.